Hello Internet, Zach here, and welcome back to Collecting the Elements. This episode is about the heaviest element required for life. Element number 53, iodine. It's the last, heaviest, and least reactive of the stable halogens. It's a dark purplish black solid at room temperature that readily sublimes into a purple vapor. There's actually a common misconception about iodine, that it doesn't have a liquid phase at atmospheric pressure, that it just goes directly from solid to gas. It's not true. Iodine will actually melt. You're just not likely to see it with all the purple vapor hanging around because its vapor pressure is so high. Now, I said that iodine was the heaviest element essential for life. Its role in biology is primarily in thyroid hormones, which regulate growth and metabolism. And iodine deficiency totally wrecks your metabolism, which is why potassium iodide is added to table salt to prevent iodine deficiency. It's also used as an antiseptic. It can be used to disinfect contaminated water. It can be used to disinfect cuts and scrapes and wounds. It's also used to sterilize an area before surgery. For use as a disinfectant, iodine is commonly available as a preparation called povidone iodine. This is where a polymer called povidone is dissolved in water and latches onto triiodide ions, which are 3 iodine atoms plus 1 extra electron stuck together in a group. This allows a lot more iodine to be held in solution than if you were just trying to dissolve elemental iodine in water. It's from this preparation that I'm going to be extracting my own sample of iodine for my table. So let me show you how I did that. If you saw my Little Mermaid parody video, you might remember having seen this. It's a DIY magnetic stir plate that I still haven't finished. It works for the moment. Mostly. Eventually, I do want to make this work better. For now, it'll be good enough. I could totally do this extraction without a stir plate, but it's a whole lot easier because it does require a whole ton of stirring. So we're going to be starting out with povidone iodine solution. And you can see it says equate on it, so obviously it's from Walmart. I've been getting way too much stuff from there. So I'm just going to dump all that in and turn on the stirring. That's better. Seeing how much I can get away with turning up the stirring. I think that's pretty good, actually. So I'm going to start very slowly adding sodium hydroxide to this. That's going to accomplish 2 things. One is breaking down the triiodide complex into iodide, and the second is breaking down the povidone polymer and making it much less soluble in water. That'll make it a lot easier to separate out. Now the stir bar is starting to get mashed around by the glob of solid povidone that's forming in there. And the solution as a whole has gotten a lot lighter. Come on, little magnet, you can do it! This looks like it might need to be broken up. Something my stir bar isn't quite up to, but this glass stir rod is. Note to self, I probably should have added the sodium hydroxide as a solution rather than as a solid. Okay, I broke up the lumps. I added a little bit of water to the solution. As you can see, there are a few more lumps still floating around, and, well, I'll deal with them gradually. If I really shake them up, they start breaking down and apparently dissolving. So let's get one more scoop of sodium hydroxide in here. Oh, wicked. Looks like that right there might be precipitating the residual povidone right back out of solution, but in a much more controlled and less lumpy way. So that's a good thing. So maybe another half scoop. Maybe one more half scoop, just for good measure. Oh yeah, that looks like that's precipitated nicely. So I'm going to set this up for gravity filtration. Annoyingly, that's still coming through cloudy. Look at the weird little drops there that are... they just sit on the surface of the water at first. That's weird. I did a second round of filtration and it doesn't really seem to have helped. So, time to boil this down and reduce the volume. Okay, this is boiling now. And the povidone is starting to separate out. Let me see if the camera will show you that. Nice little globs of povidone starting to separate off. So, when those start to congeal a little more, I'll skim them off the surface and continue reducing the volume of the rest of the solution. We are at the point that this is boiled down to the point that the salts are starting to fall out of solution. So this is the point where I'm going to turn off the heat. But first, I stuck a temperature probe in here, just out of idle curiosity to see how much I'd pushed the boiling point up with the high concentration of salts. So, this is the contents of the saucepan of science, or at least as much as I could scrape out. It looks like I might be needing to acquire a spatula of science. Okay, I have the stir plate set up for the next round. Here I'll be taking the iodide and iodate salts that I created earlier, and I'm going to oxidize them to elemental iodine. So this starts with hydrogen peroxide. This is going to be the oxidizing agent. Okay, hopefully that should be enough. And sodium bisulfate to acidify the solution. Let me turn on the stirring. Now that that's pretty well dissolved, it's still a little cloudy, but it'll be okay. I'm going to very slowly start adding the sodium iodide and iodate to this. And I'm going to put a lid on this. And I'm going to let this settle. A little bit of settling, and it's kind of hard to see, but that's the beginning of the iodine falling out of solution and collecting at the bottom. So, the current state of things, cloudy liquid with what should be iodine precipitated at the bottom, but it looks clumpy and gloppy and gross, so that means it looks like I'm going to have to distill this. First things first, though, is to get rid of the cloudy liquid. Alright, let me figure out how I want to do this. So what I decided to do is get as much as possible into this nice big test tube here. I have a stopper here with my distillation tube, and I'm going to set this up for distillation. Alright, so I am set up for distillation. So it's time to apply some heat. Little puffs of purple iodine vapor. And it's actually starting to crystallize at the top of the tube. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. Oops. The purple is getting intense. And you might be able to see some sparkling up here in the top of the bottom of the distillation tube. That's iodine that's starting to crystallize out on its way up. So hopefully this will manage to get all the way over and down into the receiving test tube. I had to help it out a little with the micro torch. But there's the iodine coming over in the condenser, makeshift condenser. The downside is there's of course going to be some water coming over with it. I should have filmed torching the daylights out of this. But we've got a bunch of iodine down in here now. And this isn't really putting off any substantial amounts of purple vapor now, even though there's all this crud. And it's possible that was leftover povidone that latched onto the iodine. But here's what's in the receiving test tube, and I'm going to pull that out and see what we've got. And what I have here is a test tube with a crust of iodine on the side and a bunch of water at the bottom. So I'm going to pull the water out and see where it goes from there. Alright, I've taken the overwhelming majority of the water out, and as you can see there's this crust of, well, I wish they were nicer crystals of iodine, but they are in fact elemental iodine. So I'm going to attempt to remove the residual water from this by drawing a vacuum and boiling it off. Yep, there goes the water vaporizing. Ah! Get in the frame. Oh wow, that got cold. I hope the camera caught it as all these iodine crystals turned gray. Ha! And it's turning my pump line brown. Oopsie. Now, let's add high voltage. And I'm going to backflush this with dry helium. Now, if you saw where that suddenly turned brown here, that's residual water that got blown back. So, I'm going to drop the pressure again. And hopefully make any residual water disappear. High voltage again. Okay, camera phone. Yes, there's high voltage happening. No, that doesn't mean you get to fritz out. Alright. Now, you can't see this on... I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but I can see it. This purple is way too pale to be air glow. And the pads aren't pink. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but the pads are almost gray. Okay, I think I've got that purified enough. I just need to poke it down with the glass spatula. Gonna throw some more helium in. Turn the high voltage off. The reason I want to poke it with the spatula is it's not in the best location right now for ampouling. Okay. It's scraped down. So, time to pull this into an ampoule shape. Well, that's what it looks like after it cooled down. It's not like super duper great, but it'll do. So let's evacuate it. High voltage on. There we go. Not air glow, but the glow of iodine vapor. Ha ha ha. Alrighty, let's get this sealed. Alright. Gently warm the fill stem. Gently warm the fill stem till it flares. Twist. Not like that. Darn it. Okay. Still glowing! Yes! Ha 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 ha. Okay. So, I mean, technically, there is only like a teeny tiny amount of iodine in here. But it's enough that it glows. Okay, here's the rest of the test tube with the residual iodine vapor. And hopefully, that's enough to say, whoa, that's not air. It's trying to get lightning-y. It's really trying. This is so cool. Look at that. That's wicked. So here it is. Iodine. I admit, my yield was terrible. There's only a tiny film of crystals at the bottom here and some vapor filling up the tube. But the way it glows, I think, is really a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. If you know someone else who might enjoy it, hit the share button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe and ring the little bell over here. And if you want to help me make more videos, throw me a few coins on Patreon. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time.